Our story begins with a team of red soldiers battling against a team of silver soldiers. The red team manages to ambush a silver soldier and blow him up with a bomb. A ranking screen appears indicating that it is a video game, and the player Ryuta Sakamoto has just gone from 11th to 10th in the world rankings. We are told that the game is Btooom, a Battle Royale style game where the players have access to 8 varieties of bombs or BIMs and a sonar for detecting enemy players. Suddenly, we see Ryuta waking up in a forest. He is surprised to see he is hanging from a large tree and the only thing holding him up is a parachute. Ryuta manages to break free of the parachute and falls to the ground. He gets up and tries to remember how he got there. He tries checking his phone but discovers there is no service. While looking at his phone, Ryuta notices a green stone embedded in his hand and screams. While panicking, he notices his bag on the ground, and when he looks through it, he finds a small white fanny pack. Still confused, Ryuta tries to make his way out of the forest. A short while later, we see Ryuta sitting on a beach staring at his bag and the white fanny pack. He opens the fanny pack to reveal it is full of tiny bombs. Disturbed, he leaves the fanny pack and tries to come up with a plan of what he should do next. Ryuta sees a man walking towards him. Thinking that he may have found a friend, Ryuta waves at him asking if he knows where they are. The strange man throws a BIM that explodes and throws Ryuta to the ground. Ryuta gets up and begins running toward the forest, grabbing his bag and the fanny pack along the way. While running, Ryuta realizes that he must somehow be a part of a real-life version of his favorite game. Ryuta keeps running until he reaches a cliff. Thinking he has escaped from the stranger, he stops to catch his breath. Just then another explosion happens behind him, and Ryuta must continue running but decides to fight back, throwing his own BIM, but the man is able to pick them up and throw them away. Ryuta hides in some grass hoping the man will leave but soon realizes it is useless because the green stone in his hand acts as a sonar. Ryuta tries to come up with a plan. He looks at his BIMs and realizes they are the timer variety, meaning they must count down to 0 before they can explode. Just as the man is just about to use 2 cracker BIMs, Ryuta runs towards the cliff and jumps off into the water below. As he is swimming, it is revealed that as he jumped, Ryuta planted one of his BIMs by the cliff's edge. The BIM's timer hits 0 and explodes, killing the stranger. Once on shore, Ryuta finds the stranger's BIM packs and takes them, realizing he will need them if he is going to survive this twisted game. On a different beach, Himiko walks over to her BIM pack and wonders if she will have to use them to kill people. She walks for a while, then finds a tree and decides to rest. Suddenly she wakes up and she is surprised to see 3 men, Kondo, Masashi, and Mitsuo. They ask Himiko if she would like to join their group and they sit down to eat some fish. While eating, Masashi says he thinks they will have to kill each other to escape the island. Kondo suggests they work together instead, but Masashi grabs Himiko to use as a hostage. But Himiko uses a taser she had hidden and shocks Masashi to free herself. Mitsuo begs everyone to calm down and suggests that they pick a leader for their group. And he drops his BIM pack on the ground in front of him and suggests Himiko be the leader. The others agree and do the same. Just then a plane flies over them, dropping a briefcase in the forest. They find the briefcase full of food and begin eating. Kondo arrives and tells them they should divide it into small portions, so they don't waste any. As he says this, Masashi attacks him from behind, killing him. Himiko is stunned, but Mitsuo grabs her, and they run back to the beach. At the beach, Mitsuo and Himiko grab the food and BIM packs and run into the forest. Once in the forest, they stop to take a break. While resting, Mitsuo accidentally activates his sonar by moving his fingers, revealing Masashi, who is chasing after them. Mitsuo and Himiko begin running again and stumble across a bridge. Masashi appears and charges at them. Mitsuo throws his BIM, which explodes, releasing a gas that disintegrates everything in a large area, allowing him and Himiko to escape across the bridge. Mitsuo and Himiko keep running, and Mitsuo tells her that she will have to start using her BIMs if she wants to survive. Himiko gets concerned, pointing out that Mitsuo is holding her hand too tight and asks him to let go. When he doesn't, Himiko punches him in the face. Mitsuo lets go of her hand but grabs her, trying to kiss her. Himiko tasers him and tries to run away. Mitsuo knocks her to the ground and throws her taser away. As he tries to take advantage of her, Himiko activates a timer BIM, threatening to blow them both up. Mitsuo tries to run away but Himiko throws the BIM as the timer hits 0 and it explodes, throwing his body into the water. Later we see Himiko washing herself off by a waterfall. She thinks to herself that men are evil. When she looks up and notices Ryuta staring at her, she gets scared and quickly packs up her things and runs off into the forest. Ryuta tries to follow her using his sonar. He sees a ping and runs towards it, finding a fat man named Kiyoshi, who is trying to take a dump. Startled, Kiyoshi begs Ryuta not to kill him, saying he isn't even playing the game. Hearing this, Ryuta demands to know everything that Kiyoshi knows. In a flashback we see a group of people on a cargo plane. Suddenly a screen turns on and a man in a hat appears, telling them they are heading to an island to play a game. He explains the goal of the game is to collect 8 of the green stones by killing other players using BIMs. The crowd begins to protest. Ryuta is in the crowd and begins to get angry and starts yelling like he knows the man, but he is shocked and knocked unconscious. The players are then given parachutes and forced to jump from the plane. When Kiyoshi finishes his story, Ryuta begins to remember everything and suspects that Tyrannos Japan, the Btooom developer, is behind the twisted game. Kiyoshi asks if Ryuta wants to work together. Ryuta agrees under the condition that Kiyoshi reveals what kind of BIM he has. Kiyoshi thinks about showing him but decides against it and prepares to leave, forcing Ryuta to accept his offer with no conditions. Just then Ryuta sees a briefcase floating towards the ground. He rushes towards it, but a woman gets there first. As she picks up the briefcase, a mine BIM detonates, killing her instantly. A man appears and removes the green stone from the dead woman's hand and takes the briefcase. Ryuta looks out over the forest and sees another parachute. He tells Kiyoshi they need to retrieve it to get food. Once in the forest, Ryuta teaches Kiyoshi how to use his sonar and they see a ping running away from them. They follow it and find a young man is standing over a lifeless body. Earlier, we see Tsuchi walking through the forest. When he comes across Kusuke killing frogs for fun, Tsuchi scolds him, saying that it's wrong. The two begin walking together when a plane flies overhead and drops a briefcase. They go looking and find the briefcase in a tree with Kusuke's father, Yoshihisa, looking up at it. Yoshihisa grabs one of Kusuke's implosion BIMs and sticks it to the tree, hoping to knock it down. Angry Kusuke sticks a BIM on his father, and it implodes, killing him. Seeing this, Tsuchi runs away, claiming Kusuke is a monster. Back in the present, Ryuta tries talking to Kusuke, who refuses to listen. Kusuke grabs his father's BIM pack and the food as Ryuta and Kiyoshi begin to run away. While running they must stop because Kiyoshi falls and is hurt. Ryuta decides to face Kusuke to buy Kiyoshi some time to escape. Ryuta and Kusuke watch each other on their sonar. Kusuke chases Ryuta down a rocky cliff and barely escapes an exploding timer BIM in the rocks. Kusuke throws an implosion BIM at Kiyoshi, who throws his bag to absorb the blast. At the same time a timer BIM goes off, throwing Kusuke back. Kusuke tries using his sonar but can't sense where Ryuta is. Realizing that Ryuta is cancelling his sonar by using his at the same time, Ryuta manages to get behind Kusuke and uses a cracker BIM on him, knocking him out. Ryuta then ties him to a tree, takes his BIM packs and food and leaves him there. Ryuta reunites with Kiyoshi, who thanks him for saving his life. They sit and have a meal together before Ryuta decides to leave the injured Kiyoshi while he searches beyond the waterfall. Once outside the forest, Ryuta uses his sonar and finds Himiko standing on a cliff. She throws a blazing gas BIM and disintegrates a large section of forest, forcing Ryuta into the open. Face to face, Ryuta tries to talk to Himiko but she won't listen, throwing a cracker BIM and saying all men are her enemies. Ryuta charges at her and dodges her taser, causing him to fall. As he falls, he kicks Himiko's hand, causing her taser to shock her and knock her out. Himiko wakes up to find that she is being carried by Ryuta. Surprised and scared, she activates a timer BIM, but Ryuta deactivates it and tells her it's okay. Later, around the campfire, Himiko reveals that everyone on the island was chosen to be there by someone they know. Ryuta realizes that his mother must have chosen him, wanting him to die. Just then the group hears a rustling in the forest. When they investigate, they see a group of Komodo dragons. The lizards start to eat their supplies and Ryuta tells Kiyoshi to take care of Himiko while he gets their supplies back. He smashes one lizard with a rock before trying to use a cracker BIM on the other. It doesn't work and Ryuta realizes that a person can only use their BIMs or those of a player they kill. A lizard bites Kiyoshi as Ryuta uses one of his cracker beams to scare the lizards away. The group begins to run but they are attacked again, and Ryuta loses sight of Kiyoshi. Panicked Ryuta uses his sonar to find Kiyoshi but comes face to face with a lizard. Just then a homing beam floats over and detonates above the lizard. The group escapes and finds an abandoned building. They try to climb the ladder, but it breaks, and Kiyoshi must use his homing beams to buy some time. Ryuta climbs the ladder and uses one of Himiko's blazing gas beams to kill the rest of the lizards. The next morning Himiko and Ryuta find Kiyoshi rolling around in pain and they must pin him down so they can treat him. Meanwhile, at the Tyranno's headquarters, the man in the cap named Takanohashi returns with snacks and is happy to see that Ryuta is still alive, saying that he looks forward to all the data they will collect from him. Back on the island, Himiko, Kiyoshi and Ryuta make small talk when suddenly Ryuta detects a sonar. Himiko says they must have found her and says she must leave. Ryuta objects, saying he will be a decoy, and draws them off. In the forest Ryuta searches for the other player, when out of nowhere he is attacked by Masashi as a timer beam is thrown at him from behind. Ryuta jumps away from the blast and sees Tsuchi standing there. Realizing they have teamed up, Ryuta tries to throw a beam at him, but he is knocked out by Masashi. Ryuta wakes up to find Tsuchi stepping on him, calling him a murderer because he has 3 types of beams in his pack. Ryuta shocks Tsuchi with a stun gun, allowing him to escape. Tsuchi tells Masashi to go after him, but Masashi states that he let Ryuta escape because he has allies and as a mercenary, he can easily track him. Once back at the abandoned house, Ryuta catches his breath. But Masashi appears, demanding Himiko returns his food and beams. Ryuta tries to defend her as Kiyoshi attacks from behind. But Masashi cuts off his fingers and kicks Ryuta off the side of the building. Ryuta makes his way back up to find Kiyoshi alone. Kiyoshi informs him that Himiko was taken along with their food and beams. Ryuta finds Himiko's phone and looks at it, realizing she is the player that he married in Btooom. In a different building, Himiko is tied up and is tortured by Masashi and Tsuchi. Suddenly they feel a sonar ping. Thinking it is Ryuta, they go to check it out. Ryuta is just outside the door where Himiko is. As he opens the door, a cracker beam falls, but he catches and disables it. Inside he unties Himiko and asks if he is the same Himiko from the game, but she denies it. As they escape, they are chased down by Tsuchi, who throws beam after beam until Ryuta strikes back, throwing a cracker beam that kills Tsuchi. Suddenly Ryuta hears a scream and runs to see Himiko captured by Masashi. Masashi drops his knife and Ryuta grabs it but is kicked and knocked down. Masashi sits on him as Himiko jumps on him, activating a blazing gas beam. Finally, out of danger, Himiko and Ryuta change into different clothes and try to get some sleep. The two talk for a while and Himiko is so happy her hero from the game is with her in real life. Himiko wakes up a short time later to see a creepy woman looking down on her, which causes her to scream. The two search around the building and Ryuta sees a light burning in the distance. He goes to check it out and finds some supplies when suddenly he is attacked by the creepy woman. She slashes at him, barely missing as Ryuta kicks her into the air and knocks her out. He sees her left arm and stone are missing, and he understands why he couldn't detect her with sonar. Later the woman wakes up and starts yelling for Ryuta to get out. When he leaves, she reveals her name is Shiki and tells Himiko not to trust men. Himiko explains that Ryuta is a good man, but Shiki doesn't listen, explaining that men only care about themselves. In a flashback we see Shiki helping a doctor she worked with by forging some records. The doctor then blames Shiki and the hospital for the errors when he is caught later, which breaks her. On the island she meets the doctor, Masahito, and he suggests they work together. After collecting 6 stones, he betrays her using a homing beam to blow up her beam pack and left arm, allowing him to leave the island in a helicopter. In the present, Himiko tells Ryuta everything she learned about Shiki except for her name. Ryuta comes up with a plan to steal the helicopter, and the two head back to Kiyoshi with the route Shiki gives them. Back at the abandoned building, the doctor, Masahito, is back on the island and has bandaged Kiyoshi's left hand. Ryuta and Himiko arrive back at the hideout and Ryuta demands Masahito explains himself. Masahito reveals he simply wanted to help Kiyoshi as that is his duty as a doctor, and Ryuta demands to see his BIMs to prove he is trustworthy. Masahito reveals his BIM, which is a new type called remote control, which he can detonate from anywhere, making them perfect for traps. Ryota thanks him and asks if he is willing to help them collect 8 stones then steal the helicopter. Masahito is skeptical until Ryota reveals that they already have 3 chips, which makes the doctor agree to help. The group sees a plane fly overhead dropping more briefcases. Ryota scans the area and detects 6 other players with his sonar. While running to retrieve a briefcase, another player appears running alongside Ryota. They both jump trying to grab it but miss and fall down a hillside. They throw bims at one another which collide and explode. Meanwhile, Himiko finds Hidemi while chasing after Ryota. A fight breaks out with Hidemi getting the upper hand, leaving Himiko with a timer bim counting down on her chest. It explodes and we see Masahito struggling with a briefcase. A blazing gas bim explodes above him, and he must let go to avoid injury. Ryota sees the briefcase floating away and catches it before it goes over the cliff. Back in the forest, Himiko charges from the smoke and shocks Hidemi, and the two face off once again. Suddenly, we see Tomoki and Kusuke throw an oil-splashing bim which explodes, trapping Ryota, who is kicked by Oda, who steals the briefcase and jumps off the cliff into the water with Ryota right behind him. Himiko and Hidemi continue to fight, with Hidemi gaining the advantage once again. While slamming Himiko's head against the ground, a remote bim explodes. As the smoke clears, we see Masahito, who is disappointed to see Himiko still alive. He pretends to be nice, but Himiko knows he was trying to kill her and Hidemi. On the beach, Tomoki finds a briefcase, but as he picks it up it explodes, suddenly killing him. Oda appears taking his stone but is stopped by Ryota, who was hiding nearby. Ryota demands Oda drop everything and leave with his hands up. But as Oda walks away and Ryota approaches, Oda triggers his remote bims using his teeth. Oda turns around and uses his sonar and is surprised to find Ryota still alive. Back at Tyrannos, Japan, we see Takanohashi watching the fight. He comments how smart Ryota is for walking away from the briefcases using Oda's limited vision to his advantage, forcing Oda to make a move. On the island, Oda asks Ryota if he is the same Ryota from Btooom. Ryota asks how he knows him, but Oda just walks away into the forest. Ryota wakes up a while later to find Himiko and Masahito standing over him. Himiko falls on him and starts crying, relieved to see him still alive, but Ryota pushes her away saying she stinks. Later we see Ryota, Himiko, Masahito, and Kiyoshi in the abandoned building cooking dinner. Ryota thinks about how Oda might know him, and it is revealed in a flashback that Ryota and Oda were friends back in school. But they had a falling out when Oda stole Ryota's crush and broke her because he was too alpha. In the present, Masahito explains that Kiyoshi's injury wasn't healing because the lizard venom was causing it to bleed continually. Himiko calls Ryota to speak with her outside and she suggests they return to Shiki to get some medicine from the storage room. Ryota agrees, suggesting Masahito join them, which concerns Himiko. On the way, Himiko reveals what happened in the forest with Masahito and how he tried to kill her. Ryota tells her she is overreacting, which frustrates Himiko, saying he trusts people too easily and it could get them all killed. At the storage room, Himiko goes to see Shiki while Ryota and Masahito get the medicine. Inside, Masahito puts the medicine in a briefcase before giving it to Ryota. Suddenly Ryota senses a sonar and rushes to the window to see Himiko, who shouts that Masahito is going to try and kill Ryota. Just then Masahito is seen pushing his remote and the briefcase explodes. Devastated, Himiko collapses, and Shiki tries to calm her down. They begin to run away as Masahito detonates another remote bim, barely missing them. Shiki confronts Masahito, throwing a cracker bim at him which he dodges. Shiki tries to chase him, but Masahito detonates another bim, causing Shiki to fall off the building. Stunned, Himiko falls to her knees, realizing she just lost all her friends. Masahito appears and throws a cracker bim at her, but it bounces off her giant pillows and doesn't explode. Realizing Ryota must still be alive, Masahito runs away and tries to set a trap for him. Ryota appears and Masahito detonates his trap. However, Ryota reveals he had already found the trap and moved it. The bim then explodes behind Masahito, knocking him out. Shiki appears, telling them to leave Masahito to her, but as she swings the sickle, Masahito apologizes and Shiki stabs the ground next to him like a simp. Later, while Himiko takes a shower, Ryota sits outside and suggests they check all the dead bodies for their stones, thinking they may find enough to leave the island. Himiko gets excited at this idea and runs out of the shower forgetting her towel. Seeing her, Ryuta blushes and Himiko slaps him, calling him a pervert. A while later we see Ryuta looking at Mitsuo's body. Ryuta sees that his stone is already missing, and he tells Himiko that all the stones have already been claimed. They return to the abandoned building but are attacked by a homing beam. They narrowly avoid the blast and Himiko stands up to protect him, and Ryuta realizes that she is the same Himiko he married in Btooom. In the bushes we see Kiyoshi aiming another beam at them. He releases it, but before it can detonate, Ryuta jumps in front of Himiko and manages to grab and deactivate it. Ryuta then uses his sonar to find him. Kiyoshi tries to run away but falls and rolls down a hill, landing by a group of Komodo dragons. Before they can attack him, Kiyoshi uses one of his beams to unalive himself. That night Ryuta breaks down thinking about everything that has happened and wants to leave the island. Hearing this, Himiko offers him the 3 stones she had collected and her own so he can leave. Ryuta refuses, saying he knows she is the same Himiko as the one he married in the game, and they finally kiss for real, deciding to get off the island together. That is where the story ends. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next recap.